Museum of History and the 25th Annual American Indian Heritage Celebration. Our presenter, Sharon Berrun, will begin in just a moment, but we want to begin with a few notes. Remember to ask questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to respond to them and share with our presenter. We have many additional resources about American Indians in North Carolina on our website, nc-aihc.com. We want to thank the following sponsors of the North Carolina Museum of History Foundation, helping to make this event possible. We want to welcome Sharon Berrun, who is a member of the Haliwa-Saponi Tribe, and she creates regalia that honors tradition while exploring contemporary materials. Welcome, Sharon. What are you sharing with us today?
Thank you so much. I'm going to be sharing some different styles of regalia among our Native women that are worn during powwow seasons that we are missing very much right now because we're not able to have them. But I would like to say Kanahampanapi to everyone. Good morning in my native language. Sharon Berrun, Mekila Kewa, dancing as Mekila Kewa, Wagichi Tasui. Me ma Haliwa-Saponi Yesa, Hollister, North Carolina, Wetewa. My name is Sharon Berrun, but I'm also called by my elders Wagichi Tasui, which means dancing eyes. I am from the Haliwa-Saponi Indian Tribe, which is the third largest in the state of North Carolina, and I live in a little small town called Hollister, North Carolina. We're a very tight community, and everybody loves each other there. So it's always good to be a part of something great. I'm going to be sharing the different styles of regalia with you this morning. All of the styles that I have with me today are considered contemporary styles of regalia. Traditionally, of course, among our native tribes, our native people, you would have seen a lot of the earth tone colors and old style traditional leather or buckskin, simply because during that time frame, that's what we took with us, our environment all the time. We lived in the environment, and the things from the earth that were provided for us, we made our clothing from. But we just didn't take animals from the earth for clothing. We wouldn't waste anything. For instance, if in the village days, if a deer was killed, we used the deer for food, for clothing, the bones to make utensils. There are so many things to be used, even down to the toes of the deer. We would use for bells, as well as on the dresses of jingle dresses. When we get to that, I'll speak a little bit more about it. But I'm going to start today with our Southern traditional style of dress, which is my style of dance. And I've been dancing since the age of 2 years old, when my mom first brought me into the arena and started teaching me the ways. And I just kind of picked it up from there and kept on honoring our traditions and our elders and our ancestors from then on out. This is a contemporary style of regalia, and what I mean by that is that, of course, it's not a buckskin dress. This is a Southern women's cloth dress, and all of the regalia you see today represents the trade period, during the time of trade between the settlers and the native peoples. Also, this type of fabric has really spoiled a lot of us. I know it spoiled me because I used to wear the heavy buckskins or cowhides dresses, and it can be very, very hot in the summertime to have to dance in powwows with those, and is also very heavy, whereas these dresses are very easy to get in and out of in changing, and also the material is much more lightweight. The colors, of course, have changed over the years. A lot of times people think, natives wear the drab colors, and that's not true for us anymore. We still honor our traditions. We still wear some of our buckskin dresses as women. A lot of our men, northern style, traditional, old style dancers, they wear the earth tone colors as well. But we do have a contemporary side and moved along with the times. So I want to start by talking about this crown that we have here. we believe that once a princess, always a princess. And so any young lady who has carried a title on behalf of her people, even after relinquishing that title, she's able to wear a crown with her style of regalia. This crown here is made in what we call an applique stitch, which means that I basically put on about 6 beads at the time and sewed down and tack them down from there. But to create beautiful designs, there's so many different types of beadwork that we do with regalia today, and it's very extravagant. Traditionally, especially among the Eastern Woodland people, because we didn't have beads, we used things, again, from the earth. So we would use shells from the sea, teeth from animals. We also would make colors by using berries that we would find in the forest, blueberries, blackberries, wild strawberries, and we would smash those berries up into a dye, and we would paint designs upon those garments in which our people would wear. So when the settlers came over, and after they seen some of the things we were doing, and they began to bring stuff back here to trade, and this is a result of that. You'll notice too that I have this mannequin decorated here with some long furs, which are the otter furs that would be worn by our women on their hair as we dance. One thing I want you to remember is that with our ladies especially, we are very dignified when we wear our regalia, when we step into the arena to dance. We're not out there in little short dresses showing a lot of skin. We cover ourselves basically from our neck down, out of respect for who we are as a people and as a woman. So again, this is called applique stitch, and this is a hair tie that would be worn on top of that otter skin to cover the braids. I want to tell you too why we do that, why we cover our braids. It is a protection, because we're told that our hair is our strength. Our hair is our energy. It is our glory. So we like to protect that as we dance, and we cover it. You'll notice also here, I've got a necklace here. This necklace is also done in an applique stitch. Everything matches. Also, the work on the skirt here is called applique work. We kind of took off with the sewing machine and doing applique, and came up with some extravagant designs in modern day native life. This happens to be a shawl that would be worn by the traditional lady, and it just is draped over your arm, and then you would carry a fan in your right hand, the shawl on the left arm. This is one good way to determine the difference between the styles of dance. If you're at a gathering and maybe the MC isn't giving you enough information about what you're looking at, you would be able to identify by just looking at the regalia. Again, the shawl over the left arm represents our traditional ladies. Next, I'd like to move over to our jingle dress style of dance. Now, this style of dance is also referred to as a prayer dance or dance of healing, a dance of medicine. And a lot of times when I do presentations, people ask the question, well, why is it called that? Do you guys think you can heal people? And the answer to that is absolutely not. The dance is a prayer dance that we pray to the Creator for healing among the people. It may be that someone is sick in your community. It may be this pandemic that's going on right now. But when we do this style of dance, we pray to the Creator for healing. We ourselves do not heal people, but we do believe and know that the Creator can heal people. So I want you to understand that that is why that is called a medicine dance or a dance of healing. Now, this style of dance is one of the dances that is very exciting to people because it makes noise. With this style of dress, you'll notice that it is adorned with cones. These cones have been rolled to make the sound of rain, and I'm just going to move them a little bit so that you can hear. So when the dancer is dancing, you would be able to hear this, and it's done to make the sound of rain. But also, there's lots of stories that go behind this dance and actually with each of our styles of dance. And one of the stories for this one is that there was a young lady who had become very sick in the village. And when you watch our dancers dance, these ladies that dance the jingle dress style, you'll notice that they'll have one hand on their hip and their fan in the other hand. Well, the hand on the hip represents the place on the young girl's body that she felt pain. And that's where that story ties to this dance. But she was healed in a dream. She had a dream and ended up dancing in her dream. And as she was dancing, she began to cry. And her dream showed her that her tears formed these jingles on her dress. Then there's also a story that says that the young girl, while dancing, it began to rain and it formed raindrops upon her dress and then brought healing to her. So this is a great representation of this style of dress with the jingles now on an adult woman's dress. Most of the time, you would find them wearing at least 365 jingles representing every day of the year and 7 rows representing every day of the week. Now, you might ask, well, why is that significant to this dance? Remember, we said that it is a dance of healing, a dance of medicine. So representing the 365 days and the 7 days a week is significant because we're giving thanks to the Creator for allowing that dancer to be here for those days and for those weeks. Also, you'll see here that I've just placed a crown here, again, just showing that a lot of ladies in the arena you may see wearing a crown. This too is the skin from an otter, adorned with floral work. And with the Eastern Woodland people, which my tribe are, the Eastern Woodland, we live, of course, here on the east side, on the East Coast. And the traditional designs for Eastern Woodland people would be floral work. Flowers, trees. We took our designs from what we saw in our environment around us. Whereas if we talk about the Plains Indians, we would talk about geometrics, maybe shapes of mountains or land. And this is one of the traditional ways that we were represented, or you could identify a tribe by region during the old days. But over the years, we've shared so many designs from tribe to tribe that still has much significance, but we venture out a little bit. Some Eastern Woodland people, you may see a lot of geometrics on their regalia. It just depends on the person. I do know that we get questions all the time about why we call this type of dress regalia. We refer to it as regalia or outfits. We never, ever, ever call what we wear as Native people costumes. Costumes, we believe, and if you look it up, probably says it is worn to portray something that you are not. Our outfits are not costumes. They are very sacred and special to us, and they tell a story because they link us back to our ancestors and our teachings and what they've taught us to carry on. I just want to move on here from the jingle dress, but you notice that there's also a belt. Most of the women wear belts with their jingle dresses. And that helps really with the weight of the dress. I don't think I mentioned how heavy these jingles are. Holding one single jingle is very light, but when you put at least 365 jingles on a dress, it can become very, very heavy. A lot of times, some dresses weigh anywhere from about 30 pounds up to 60 pounds, depending on how many. I wanted to also show this little jingle dress. This is a dress that my daughter wore when she was a little bit younger. You can tell that the work on here, the applique work on the front as well as the back and sleeves, is very intricate, and hopefully you can see the bottom of this work as well. Very intricate applique work, and you can see the flashy colors here. This little dress here took me a few days to put together. It just all depends on how intricate your designs are, how fast you are at sewing or beading. That will determine the length of time that it takes for us to put these outfits together. We just can't go to Walmart or Target and just pick up these items and be at the powwow by 5 o'clock. We definitely have to put a lot of work into it. Most of the time, though, I will say, if you're at a powwow or gathering, either the person who is wearing that regalia, they have made that regalia, or someone in their family or their friends have created that regalia for them. And a lot of times what I like to do is let my daughter be involved in this, because it's a learning tool for her, and then it helps her to take pride in her own regalia, that she had a hand in creating it, and by doing that, it teaches her to respect it and take care of it. Moving from the jingle dress style of dance, we're going to go over to the fancy dance style. This fancy style is also referred to as the fancy shawl dance among our women, and is also called the dance of the butterfly. One way to determine the difference between fancy dancing and the other two that we spoke about, remember, the jingle dress does not carry a shawl. It has jingles on it. Southern traditional ladies have the shawl over their left arm. And then with our fancy ladies, they carry a shawl around their shoulders. And you can see that there are very intricate designs on this shawl as well. Now, draping this shawl around the shoulders represents the wings of the butterfly. And when these ladies are dancing this style of dance, they're so graceful, so light on their feet. Even though this is a very fast-paced dance, it really looks like they could be telling the story of the floating butterfly. And if you would go outside and spend a little time with nature and find yourself seeing a lot of butterflies flying around, if you were to catch one of those butterflies and look at their wings very closely, you would see the intricate designs that they carry. So this is the purpose of the designs on these shawls, again, representing the wings of the butterfly. Along with that, the fancy ladies wear on their backs what we call a yoke, and it goes over the head and ties around the waist, showing the front, and then the back of that yoke hangs right over the top edge of the shawl. So everything is very much organized and beautiful when you're watching them dance. I do have a couple of accessories to go along with that, one being a blue skirt here, and then the orange dress. Everything complements each other. And then the pieces of beadwork as well. Our fancy ladies wear beadwork, just like we talked about with the hair ties on both of these mannequins here, the traditional style, the jingle style, but that would also hold true for our fancy women. They cover their hair as well, and these are a couple of the hair ties that belong to my daughter that she wears. Beautiful work. Everything just really ties together. This is what we call a necktie, and it kind of takes the place of the necklace. You know, a lot of women wear the necklaces as we showed here, and then some women are now wearing the neckties. And then, of course, this last piece here for the fancy regalia, this is actually a hair bow that goes right across the top of the head. So, and that I've gotten caught in my hair. But it is very, very intricate work, and it takes a lot of time. Before we move into any questions really quick, I did want to show these little moccasins, and they look like boots, but they're not. I have what we call leggings. These go around the leg, and it's two separate pieces, and the little moccasins that my daughter wore when she was just an infant. Now, all of our dancers wear leggings, and leggings were worn by our people years and years ago in cold weather and while working in the village times. This was her little headband. So, you know, even though at the time she wore these items, she wasn't even able to walk. But we're taught that we should offer our children the opportunity from the time that they're able to walk, or even you're carrying them around at the powwow. Give them the gift of our traditions, our culture. And I just wanted to say, one of the teachings of my mom when she brought me into the circle is that we have to come respectfully, and that we not only should respect our culture, but we should respect other people's culture as well. And in doing that, the way you can learn to respect someone's ways and why they do what they do is by sharing the information, giving the facts, and make sure that they fully understand why you do what you do. And that will help them to gain a better respect for you and for what you're doing. And in that being said, I want to give the opportunity, if we have just a minute, for a couple of questions.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I know you have a lot more to share. We do have some questions. So at the beginning, you were talking about the headdress being worn princess for life. And people want to know, what qualities are girls recognized for to be honored as a princess?
Okay. The way that my tribe actually selects our princes, we have tribal meetings on a monthly basis. However, due to the pandemic, we haven't been able to do that recently. But on an annual basis, we select a princess by majority vote. What we do in one of our tribal meetings, we reserve the night for the young ladies to come dressed in regalia, so that we know they have formal regalia if selected, and they give their speeches on why they would like to be Miss Haliwa-Saponi. Now, this is only one of the ways that tribes do this. Some tribes have a full pageant for these girls to compete. Our people are, with the Haliwa-Saponi, a little bit more traditional, and we go by majority vote of our people. But things that they should be looking for, and that I hope they look for, is number one, how well the young lady has carried herself, not just the year that she plans to run for the title, but how she's carried herself over her lifetime. We usually do this with our girls. They become eligible when they're in the 11th grade. So they're watched from little kids up to see how well they carry themselves, whether they've been involved in the culture, how much they know about their tribe, because you want to be able, as a representative, when you go out to represent your tribe, you want to be able to give the correct information and know how to answer questions when asked. That doesn't mean that you have to know every single thing about being Native or being Haliwa-Saponi or whatever tribe you may be from, but know that you know your traditions and your culture, and that makes a wonderful representative. We also look at the public speaking ability of these girls, because if they're going to be representing the tribe as a whole, then they must be able to speak publicly before thousands of people.
Terrific. So that really helps explain that it's a very thorough process.
Yes.
And you're choosing some people with a lot of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
People are interested in your necklace. Did you make that? And
Actually, this piece I did not make. This was a piece that was gifted to me by my good friend Madonna Sitting Bear. She is Lakota, and she gave it to me as a gift for Christmas one year. But the other items that you see is my work.
And so I think you said at the beginning that you started dancing very young. Are there certain ages you have to be to perform?
No, there is no certain age. Like I said, when my little girl came along, she wasn't even able to walk, and I had her dressed out in regalia in the arena. And basically, the reason for that is we want them to be, from a very young age, able to adjust to what's happening there. As far as a powwow, if you've ever been to a powwow, it's very loud, with the singing and drumming, and then the dancing, and you don't want the babies to be frightened of that. So we introduce it very early as a means for them to become comfortable in the culture, and a means to teach them from the time they are small until they're adults. And again, we do not force it upon them. My daughter actually, even though I had her in the arena at a very young age, she went through a spell, I would say from maybe 3 years old to about 8. years old where she just did not want to dance, and that was okay with me because she's an only child, and she was like, when she gets to the powwow, Mom, I want to go play. You know, she was seeing her friends. So we don't force them to do these things, but we give it to them as a gift, because once you get your culture and your heritage and your history embedded in you as a person, no one can take it from you.
So we have a couple of questions that speak to historic dress for Native Americans, American Indians, and contemporary dress. And I think you already said that hundreds of years ago, people everywhere used the natural resources around them.
Yes.
So American Indians would use buckskin and leather from deer and other animals.
Yes.
And so can you tell me if today, do American Indians wear regalia all the time?
No, we do not. And that's an awesome question that we get all the time, which is why I dressed in street clothes today, because I want people to know that as a Native, we dress just like everyone else. These types of items are reserved for our powwows, for our Native gatherings, and we have other more traditional regalia that we use among our people for having ceremonies as well. So we don't dress in these items every single day. We honor them, we reserve them for the appropriate times, but we live our lives just like everybody else here in the world, and that's very fortunate. A lot of times we get questions on, do we live in teepees? Actually, my people didn't live in teepees at all. My people were longhouse people. We lived in longhouses and wigwams, so we didn't live in teepees. I've even gotten a question from a student one time. We were at a school doing a presentation, and they wanted to know, did I ride my horse there? But no, I'm riding my minivan today. So again, we live just like everybody else. We just make sure that we pass our traditions and culture on, and we reserve that in honor of our ancestors and the Creator.
Thank you for that response. So tell us, how did you learn to make regalia?
I originally started beading, doing beadwork around the age of 8, and my mom introduced me to beadwork. Also with the sewing, my grandmother was a seamstress. She was awesome. She ran a local store in our community. She could make anything, and she would make it without even using a pattern. She would cut freehand. And my mom also inherited that talent of sewing. And so I grew up around it, and I spent a lot of time in my grandma's store. I would stand over her shoulder and watch her sew. And then, of course, with my mom sewing at home, one year, I was between the ages of 10 and 12. I don't remember exactly which it was, but my mom asked me, what did I want for Christmas? And so I said, I'd like to have a sewing machine. And so she got me a sewing machine, and I've been sewing ever since, which made her really happy, because at the time she was creating all of the regalia for myself and my brother. And when I really got the hang of sewing and making intricate designs, she passed it on to me and said, okay, great, you get to make all the outfits now. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, you are an inspiration to me and to many in our audience who I think really want to go see these regalia in action. They can watch that at our live stream event of presentations today. We're so thankful to you for who you are, for what you've shared with us today. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to have to wrap up now. Remember, we do have other events going at NCMOH.com, including dancing presentations throughout the day. This session and most of the American Indian Heritage Celebration will be available to you as a video on demand. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you. Pila Hope.